Good evening. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. Hope you're all well out there. Joining me tonight are Tony Guest, David Campbell, and returning after a 3-year break, it's Jack McCabe. Welcome to the show, lads.
Let's go, James.
All right. Great to see you all, lads. Great to see you, Jack. Boro fans, the win kept our flickering hopes of the playoffs alive at the weekend. What did you think of the game against Stoke? We'll chat in depth about that match. We're also going to look ahead to this week's games with Preston and Millwall. And there's loads of other Boro-related stuff we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes or so. So get yourselves involved as always. We appreciate your thoughts and opinions. And take part on tonight's Boro Fan TV Monday Night Show. So, David, I'm going to come to you first, pal. Stoke City game. We've just seen the lost Tony there. I'm sure he'll be back with us in a minute. Just the one game to look back at this week, David, and it was a Stoke match. Brought a welcome 3 points. However, I think you'd have got long odds on us winning 3-0 after the first 15 minutes. And it required a bit of a tactical break from Mr. Warnock there, sorting out a few issues. Did really well, didn't he?
Yeah, we just looked more composed when McNair, when we went back to back 4. Like you say, the first 15 minutes, we struggled to get a bit of a rhythm into the game. And Stoke had a few good chances where it could have been a lot different, but as soon as the first goal in, we looked composed and we got the goals to see off the game. Obviously, we went 2-0 at half time. We knew they were going to come out fire in the second half and they put us on the back burner, but we stood up to be counting. I thought Bettinelli, I think he needs a bit of credit because he made some crucial saves at crucial times, and then obviously it set us up with a nice winner at the end. So yeah, it was a good game all around regarding the result, but it could have been a lot different.
Definitely. Tony, we were talking before we came on air tonight about Paddy McNair. And I mean, in front of his former international boss, Michael O'Neill, who wanted to take him to Stoke, incidentally, last summer as well. He's integral to our hopes next season, McNair, isn't he, in terms of his versatility and what he has to offer.
Like you say, on Saturday, he was absolutely unbelievable. We had Kel dictating the game for the first 10, 15 minutes, and obviously Warnock, being a wise old owl, changed the formation. He pushed Paddy into the midfield, and he just ran all over Mikel. Just absolutely ran all over him. And like what Dave said earlier, if his legs hadn't gone before that game, they've definitely gone now, because Paddy McNair was outstanding. His goal, he must have lungs. He must have lungs as big as my head, because he is absolutely... he's from the first minute to the 90th minute. And what Dave touched upon there with Bettinelli, I've seen a marked improvement in his games since the Brentford game, where all season his starting position seems to have been wrong. Was it the Brentford game where he allowed the lad, where he got cleared from the box and he allowed the lad to run, the length of Linthorpe Road before he even attempted to come out? But
yeah.
I don't know whether there's been something put on the table for him, to sign permanent for next season, and he's eventually pulled his socks up, because he does look a bit more interested now. I'd say for the last 2 or 3 games, I have no problem with the goalkeeper, and some of the saves he made in the second half, were outstanding. So I'm hoping, if we, like you say, he's still not the best keeper we've had, but if his performance has improved 10%, it's going to benefit us. You know what I mean? But Paddy McNair is an absolute machine. His goal, I was just thinking, well, late off, but he just kept going. And like you say, composed finish, the way he passed it into the net, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But like you say, I think Warnock, the start of last season, wanted to leave as well, James, didn't he? And till he seen him in training or in a pre-season friendly, and then he decided to keep him. Thank God he did. And like you say, let's hope we can keep hold of him in the summer, because he's absolutely massive to this club at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that he might have got better with Hall coming back as well, knowing he's got 2 solid centre-halves who we can depend on winning the headers and clearing it?
That might have a lot to do with it. Obviously, he's got a bit more protection in front of him with them 2. We looked solid. We looked solid with a back four on Saturday when we went to back four. You know what I mean? And Howson and McNair just complement each other perfectly. Mozzie didn't have the game which he had against Swansea, but he's still a menace. He's still a nuisance. You know what I mean? So, like you say, there's talks of a bit of tinkering to the squad, which is great news. But I don't think there's going to be many comings and goings. Well, I hope there's not many goings, but we've just got to put our faith and our trust in Warnock to see where he can take us.
Some interesting stuff here from Steve Davis. Evening, fellas. Much more positive this week than last week. Cracking performance against Stoke. McNair showing his class once again. There's a lot of positivity out there, Jack. What pleased you most about Saturday's game?
As the lads touched on earlier, we were calm, we were composed throughout the full 90. After them first 15 minutes, we came into the game much more, and obviously we got them 3 goals that we needed, really. But yeah, I think we were calm. We were put under pressure at times, but we seemed to deal with it really well.
Yeah. And you mentioned, David, about Bettinelli when you spoke earlier on, and Neil Cowan's made the point here. Bettinelli's playing for a contract as Fulham won't want him back. So do you think, as well as things like Grant Hall coming into the side, do you think obviously the realisation that we're into the final dozen games of the season and players are playing for contracts for next season, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The only way he's going to get a contract is being by consistent, though. So from now to the end of the season, he needs to do that more often because we've seen him have a good spell, but we've seen him have a lot of bad spells. And we all know when you have a bad spell as a Boro player, the Boro fans get on board and then they don't give credit where it's due. So I think, look, as fans, we need to appreciate what he did on Saturday and just hope for more consistency because, yeah, all the players are playing for contracts. There's a few out there, especially the loan players.
Yeah. Talking to one of the players that came in the last transfer window, not a loan player, but a free agent, Tony, Nathaniel Mendez-Lang, he topped things off with a really composed finish for the 3rd goal. But all 3 of those players that came in, the attacking players anyway, that came in January, Cabano, Balassi and Mendez-Lang, they all featured on Saturday. What have you made of their contributions in a Boro shirt over the last few weeks?
Week by week, they're getting better, James. Every game, them 3 lads are getting fitter. And for Mendez-Lang to come on, obviously, he came on. I can't remember who took off injured, but yeah, Jed went off injured, and he come on. And so the way he just, I can't remember the last time I seen a Boro striker or a Boro forward finish a chance like that where he waited for the keeper to move. He didn't try to smash it. He didn't try to put the back of the ball out. He was cool. He was calculated, and the finish was absolutely fantastic. Just to sit the keeper down and a little cheeky chip over him. Absolutely fantastic. Out the 3 of them, I'd say he's a definite. We'll definitely keep him. I think we'll offer him another year. It's trying to keep hold of Cabano and Balassi because Balassi was fantastic for an hour on Saturday. Into the second half, he dropped a lot deeper to help out our mate Jed Spence, which, he even looked so composed there, Balassi. And it'd been if wages isn't a problem to the kid, I think he'll sign because it looks like he's enjoying his football. He just wants to play football while he's here. James, he's been out the game that long, you know what I mean? I know he's been over in Portugal playing over there, but this is where he wants to be. And Cabano, he's only going to get better. The fitter he gets, he's going to improve us massively. And if we get them 2, you're talking what? You're talking marquee signings in the Championship if we get them 2. So fingers crossed. Let's hope they can put pen to paper. Another one. Have I heard something about Grant Hall today? Is he only signed for a year? And I think they're trying to sit him down to extend his contract.
He signed for 3 years, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he signed.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I've just said something today, sitting down with Neil Warnock.
Right. Talking to the players you mentioned there, Tony, Alfie Conlon said there we really need to keep Mendez-Lang and Balassi and Cabano up the next season. then Steve, and I think this is probably a point that most people take on board, is that we'll be lucky to sign them 3 players, don't you think, chap? Because not just in terms of what other offers they might have, but obviously the financial constraints we're working under.
Yeah, definitely, and they've showed the quality. And as Tony said, they're getting better and better every week. I mean, Cabano, he's one of them players you want to play for you, but he's a menace when, as Tony said, when you're playing against him. But he's definitely an addition I'd like to see next season.
Yeah. Just wanted to ask you as well, Jack. We've often got on the show, the lads, while they've definitely been on the show, we've often spoken and criticised Boro not being clinical enough when they get chances in the games. Now, you certainly couldn't level at them on Saturday, could you, Jack? I mean, every opportunity we got, we took.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the most important things, especially in this league at the minute, is taking your chances. Because if you're not taking your chances, you're not going to score goals, and you don't win games if you don't score.
Yeah, good stuff. And David, it seems strange to mention it after a 3-0 win, but whilst things maybe seem to be falling in place defensively, like you said, with Grant Hall and Dale Fry and the full-backs, there's still issues at the top end of the pitch, isn't there?
There is. I think for me, it's because he's just trying to get a system that fits all the players he's brought in. Trying to predict a Boro starting lineup at the moment is, it's absolutely mind-blowing, and that's with Tavernier. So I think once you get a consistency with a forward line, I think we'll start seeing that end of the pitch gel more together. But like the guys were saying there, Cabano and Balassi, if we'd have had them earlier on in the season, now the season could have been a lot different. And we should be going all out to save them for next season, really.
Yeah. I think I know your answer to this, Tony, but I'll throw it out there at you. From Ben Thornton, thanks for watching, Ben. Would you offer Britt a new contract? It's just our luck that he'll leave and score for fun.
I would. I wouldn't offer him his bus fare, James. He's been here a while now. Is it 4 years? And he's flattered to deceive all the time he's been here. He can go where he wants, and whoever gets him is only going to get what the Boro got. He'll start off most probably like an house on fire. Then I think that, like by the thing, start of it at our club, he shot his toys out the pram. So, no, I wouldn't offer Sombalonga a new contract. Apparently, the Swansea game, he was left out the squad because he was poorly. But apparently, he put a load of them daft emojis on, laughing. So, as if to contradict what Warnock was saying about him. Now, I think he's had his time at our club now, and I think Warnock knows it. So I think we'll see less and less of Brit now. I'm surprised he brought him on instead of that kid on Saturday as well, to tell you the truth. But saying that, he came on for 15 minutes and he ran hard. So,
yeah,
he's got to try and impress someone now, hasn't he?
Yeah, Tony, like we were saying about the Bettinelli situation. Before we leave the game, Tony, against Stoke, that match was almost like an eliminator game to stay in contention for the playoffs this year. We know it's still a long shot. I mean, results elsewhere mean we're still 8 points off 6th place. But what's your take on things? What do we need to do? What more can we do for the rest of this season, Tony?
We need to turn draws into wins, and like what Jack said, goals win matches. We've scored 3 on Saturday, and it's nice to sit and watch Boro when they're comfortable. So, like you say, we definitely need to keep our own form as it was on Saturday, because that's been our downfall this season. We went so long at the start of the season, consistent, not losing at home, and I thought this was our year. You know what I mean? But once the home form went out the window, that's why we've lacked so much. You can't beat refereeing decisions for the position that we're in, because the referees are that bad. It's the same for every team. You know what I mean, James? There's teams around us who's lost points when they shouldn't have. So I think if we can, like you say, it's a long shot, but just look at Barnsley. If we can win the majority of our last 10 games, I don't think we'll be far off, but I think we'll just be hitting the post. I think we'll just miss out, James.
Yeah. That week after the international break where we play Bournemouth, Watford and then Barnsley is massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That could be.
Win these two this week. We have to win these two, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not gimmies, but the two winnable games.
Yeah. Before we just move on from this part of the show, Matthew King said we could do with bringing in another centre back so that we can push Paddy into midfield more. Would you go along with that, David?
Could certainly see a case, but I think he'd have to be a backup with Hall and Fry playing so well together. I wouldn't want to see them get disjointed, and I think you touched upon it there, James. I think we do look better as a 4 than a 5. Wood could be enough after he's gone and got some experience, maybe next season as a backup. I wouldn't want to see a first team coming because I do like the look of Hall and Fry. But I think we need a left-sided centre-back, someone who could play a left-back as well. Because if anything happens with Boro, I think we're going to struggle over that way. With Johnson, I think it's better more further forward than as a full-back.
Okay, good answer. Going to look at one or two other things now before we preview the Preston and Millwall matches, lads. Jack, you obviously weren't with us last week, and we had a bit of a ding-dong on the show about the Swansea game. The fallout still coming out from that game. Just had insult to injury. We found out earlier last week that Anthony Dijksteel was ruled out for the rest of the season due to a disruption of his ankle joint, which sounds really painful. It's a massive blow for the club and for the player. He's been transformed in his form this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And since he's came, as mentioned, with the other players, he's just seemed to got better and better. He's really strong, and there's nothing more we can ask from him, really. And to have him not in the side anymore, it's a bit gutting, really. But hopefully we can have that replacement where it does the same, it's like for like, really. And hopefully just carry on as best as we can, but it's going to be a big blow.
Yeah, right. And Tony, just to rub even more salt into the wounds, the FA then charged the Boro for being in breach of FA Rule E20, failing to ensure that your players conduct themselves in an orderly fashion. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Tony?
Isn't that something you use for bad skin?
An irritation.
Yeah, they're one big irritation then. Well, like you say, we're the FA's favourite club, aren't we? You know what I mean? They like to pass down their sanctions on us, so it doesn't surprise me, James. Obviously, they must look at different footage to what we look at because, Swansea scored a last-minute penalty and they were absolutely over the moon, which any team would be. They all ran to the bench. But the way they were goading our bench, is it Hourahan?
Hourahan was
looking
right in the one. Yeah,
don't they see these things? You know what I mean? But like you say, we'll take our punishment, and we just know we're better than them. We're better than the suits in the FA. You know what I mean? So it's just something you've got to live with. You know what I mean? As a fan.
Yeah, the reaction was wrong from Warnock and the players going over, but the reaction was only because of the decisions. The decisions were wrong. So why don't we hear anything regarding that?
Well, they're on about now. They're on about getting referees in after the game now. They're really looking into it. You know what I mean? To discuss the decisions, which we've been screaming out for I think for the last 40 years, for referees to tell us why they're giving penalties and free kicks, because with VAR in the Premiership and the standard of refereeing in the EFL. They're just making a mockery out of the game. The decisions are unbelievable. So poor.
Steve Arrow was mentioned. I don't think he was totally enamoured with the referee's performance against Swansea. Can we not do the same? Find the FA for providing, really poor officials, shall we say, control its staff. Why doesn't the FA? And I mean, that's a fair point, David. I mean, at the end of the day, aren't they accountable? When are the officials going to be accountable for the performances that they're putting in?
100%. And I think as fans and as clubs, you could accept it if there was a bit more leniency and they were informed of what was happening to the referees. I mean, it was only because I went and did a bit of research. Is the referee after the incident against Birmingham didn't referee for 5 games. There was nothing in the press that was stating that. So if the fans were made aware of the repercussions happening to the FA and the referees, you might be able to live with it. But they keep it quiet, don't they? But they make it headline news that clubs are getting fined for next to nothing.
Yeah. Well, Michael Pellin said the FA will do FA for Middlesbrough Football Club. Tend to agree with that, Michael. Apart from, they'll probably just give us a bigger fine, or maybe dock points off us. I don't know. We've been there before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Talking to the FA, David, we recently had Greg Clark step down from his role as chief executive of the FA. The comments he'd made relating to, totally outdated comments. And in the past month, we've had a Boro supporter. We've now had Yannick Bolasie subject to racist abuse. It's incredibly sad that we're in 2021 and the colour of people's skin seems to provoke a negative response in some, isn't it?
It's absolutely ridiculous and it's scandalous. And these aren't football fans, the thugs and hooligans. Keyboard warriors, call them what you like, but there's no place for that in society, never mind football. I've seen a club have issued a statement saying they'll be dealt with internally and they'll be banned from the ground. I think it needs to go further afield than that, and they need reporting to the police and let the police deal with them, because if you do that on the street, you get arrested. It's simple as that. And to do it as what's more sour grapes is, and you're doing it to one of your own who's trying to interact with the fans. He was last season open book. He was on there trying to interact with the fans, and he's received abuse. We touched on it a few weeks ago about Jonathan Woodgate getting in. I know there was disagreements saying they can't see it happened. This has been happening for ages. It's just players haven't been highlighted. So the more these situations get highlighted, hopefully something can happen. But until then, it just shows the taking knee isn't working as well, doesn't it?
No. I mean, you've hit on a point there which I'd like to raise as well, David, that people be more than me. Tony will know about this. Going back years, and Tony will probably back me up on this, you had more interaction with players because you used to meet them in the town, you'd meet them in the shops. They were part of the community, footballers. And now they earn a lot more money, they live out the area. You probably only ever see them on a match day, but like you've said, the lassie's trying to interact with fans, and he's getting it thrown back in his face, isn't he?
Yeah, and then it just sums up why players are trained not to interact with the fans because of the potential repercussions. But like you've hit the nail on the head. It's a sad state of affairs when a footballer can't interact with the fans.
Jack, Neil Warnock's now said he's going to stay for another season, and he's already commented that the 10 games that are left are going to provide him with a chance to see which players will cement the place at the club and which ones he'll probably let go. Who specifically do you think he's referring to?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the attitude straight away, as touched on earlier with Britta Sombolonga. I mean, I've watched him play in recent weeks. He doesn't want to be there. He's running around the pitch. He's not even breaking a sweat anymore. And personally, I thought he'd have went in the last transfer window, but I'm pretty certain he'll go in the summer.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, mate. Right, we'll look at the games coming up this week. Preston first tomorrow night. We owe them one, don't we, David? They did us 3-0 at Deepdale in December, so we've got to get them back for that tomorrow night, haven't we?
Yeah, and the absolute that night, didn't they? It was a Tuesday night game and we just didn't get a kick. It'd be interesting. I'd like to see the same side start tomorrow that against Stoke and see if we can get a bit of a run going with a bit of familiar faces. So yeah, they're not playing well. They've got nothing to play for, Preston, have they? They look like they're not getting relegated and they can't push for playoffs. Sometimes that works in your favour, like Guesty was saying. But how many times have we seen this type of situation where we all think it's an easy 3 points and then we go let our guard down and they beat us? So tomorrow it just shows us fans if we have improved.
Yeah. And Tony, we've spoke about Preston before on this show, and they've said they're a club that tend to work within a tight budget, yet they're always competitive in the Championship. And they've slipped to 15th this year, and I think they've only won 1 in 6. But as David said there, it's still going to be a really difficult game tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yeah, Alex Neil's not going to come coming here tomorrow night and expecting his team to roll over, you know, and have the belly tickled. It's always like you say, we always seem to have good games against Preston. We were absolutely dreadful in December against them. So, like you say, it's our own form, and if we can get our noses in front against anyone, James, I think we can push on and score 2 or 3 goals against anyone now. You know, the way we're scoring goals through the squad. I know we've missed the striker, but we're scoring goals throughout the squad, which it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? So, but they're going to come here. They got a good eye. They got beat on Saturday at Wickham, the worst team in the league. So the pride will be hurt a bit. So they're going to come and give a bit extra. But like you say, it doesn't look like they're going down. They've got now to play for. But at the moment, they're a bit wounded. So it might make the first 20 minutes, half an hour, a bit interesting tomorrow. But hopefully, the more we get McNair on the ball, to get the ball to Cabano, Balassi, and whoever we're going to play through the middle, Akpom. Well, by the way, I thought he had a decent game on Saturday, Akpom. He still didn't get enough of the ball as a centre forward, but
yeah,
he put a decent performance in. But if we can get the ball to them 3, you know, if they don't score, we've got the lads behind them who's chipped in all season.
Yeah. I think you mentioned something before, Tony, didn't you, about how many different goal scorers we've had this season? Because I think our top scorer doesn't have a great deal, but as you say, there's goals come from everybody this season, haven't there?
Yeah, I think Mendes Lang was our 17th different goal scorer this season when he scored on Saturday, which is fantastic for a squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, if they can all keep chipping in and keeping us moving forward, you know, Brick can stay in his cot with his rattle.
Well, Jack, Steve Golby's been in touch and he said, I feel that Preston need results as their manager is far from safe. Alex Neil's a manager I actually rate quite highly. I think he's a decent manager. And I heard his comments after the loss to Wickham at Saturday, and he said he wasn't angry or annoyed with the first half display, just disappointed with them. And he'll want some sort of reaction from Preston tomorrow night. He'll want them to come flying out the blocks, won't he?
Oh yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. I think they're going to definitely be going into the game wanting 3 points, and so are we. I think the least they'll take is obviously, I think they'll take a draw, maybe at a push, but no one wants to be getting beat, not at this stage. And we've just got to, like Gessie was saying, we've got to be strong, especially from the first 15 minutes onwards, and just outplay them really.
Right. So it's predictions times, lads. Jack, you can have the first pot at this. What do you reckon the score's going to be tomorrow night against Preston?
Right, I'm just going to say 1-0. 1-0 Boro. And that's all it'll take. Another 3 points on the board. I think it's going to be a tough game. Preston aren't the team we need to underestimate. But, yeah, 3 points is a must. But, yeah, 1-0.
1-0. David?
2-0, I reckon. First 15 minutes, Preston will come out the blocks. And then if we get that goal, then push on.
Right. Steve and Chris Sykes have both gone for a 3-1 Boro win. Tony, what do you reckon tomorrow night?
I'm going for a 2-0 tomorrow. I think we look quite solid at the back on Saturday. The goalkeeper's improving, so hopefully we can keep Preston out and hopefully a comfortable 2-0 win.
Fantastic. Loads of optimism tonight from Boro fans. Neil Cowan, Damon LaRoche, both gone 2-0. Steve Golby's gone 3-2 Boro win. So, I mean, if we were to get 3 points tomorrow, lads, it really sets things up for the weekend. And David, it's our final game before the last international break of the season. And that last game is at Millwall, at the new Den on Saturday. Seen probably one of our most important away wins last season.
Yeah.
Do you think, even if we win tomorrow night, do you think 3 points are again a must on Saturday at the new Den?
Yeah, 100%. Especially since we touched upon about how hard the week's going to be after the international break. Yeah. So if we can get 6 points over the next 2 games, it puts us in good stead. And I think our season will then be defined on that week after. I'd expect changes with the amount of games we played, regardless of tomorrow night's result. against Millwall, though.
Right, well, interesting. I think you're probably right with having 3 games in a week. I mean, Tony, it's almost like a role reversal at the weekend because we're taking on Preston tomorrow night, who turned us over at Deepdale 3-0. We beat Gary Rowett's men 3-0 in December at the Riverside and did it quite easily, really. So again, the Lions, they'll want to redress the balance there, won't they?
Yeah, it's like you say, this league's madness. When Millwall came to the Riverside, they were on the slide. Gary Rowett was on his way out. But they're another team in the Championship that never seems to go away. You know what I mean? You think they're going to hit rock bottom and we're going to get rid of them, thank God. But they manage to always seem to put a decent run of results together. And next thing, they're on your coattails, you know what I mean? So, yeah, they'll want to put December's result right. But we don't do too bad at the New Den the last few seasons, James. So hopefully we can come away with a win from there, which it's one of the nicest places to go and win. You know what I mean? Or come away unbeaten, because their fans are more annoying than any wasp I've ever had in my car. You know what I mean? So it'd be nice to stick 2 fingers up at the Millwall fans again, yeah. So I'm hoping we come away from there with a win.
I thought you were going to say when you want to come away with a win. I thought you were just going to say you want to come away alive, to be honest.
I remember coming away just wanting the wheels on the van.
Yeah, it's always an interesting day out, Millwall. Jack,
it's an experience.
Yeah. It promises to be a tight encounter, if nothing else, Jack. I mean, Millwall, I've read, have drawn 10 of their 18 home games this season. They've scored 17 goals, conceded 16. So that points to it being a really close, tight game. And again, like we saw on Saturday against Stoke, if we get any chances, we've got to put them away, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Every chance, we've got to hit the back of the net with it. I mean, we know we're not going to score every chance we have, but we just need to better them in every way possible, really. On the counter, we need to be quick, and we just take our chances and just have a decent game, and we've got a good chance of winning, definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. David, Peter Grassham's been in touch and he said, hopefully I'm wrong, but we've dropped too many points this season for us to get into the playoffs. And do you think that's going to be our Achilles heel at the end of the season, where maybe that run of 5 home defeats in 6 games is what could potentially cost us?
100%. And it goes back to the Tony Pulis era, doesn't it, where we went those 6-7 games and we dropped points then. That's what cost us. And I can see this season being exactly the same, where we had that bad big patch in the middle, hit a bit of form towards the end, but it was just a little too late. And I can see history repeating itself. I don't know if you guys can, but I think the gap's too big for me.
Yeah, no, I'd go along with that. And Tony, Paul Nicholas has been in touch and he said Barnsley look like getting into the playoffs, and in reality they should be in League One. What do you think about that?
You know what, James? It just shows you. I think they stayed up through the skin of the teeth. They scored a goal in the last 2 games in the 90th minute injury time in 2 games, and it kept them up. And then obviously they brought this German guy in, another German manager, who's absolutely transformed him. And I think earlier on in the season on the show, I think Barnsley were creeping up the league then, and I mentioned to keep an eye open for Barnsley. But now they've just gone on this mad, crazy run where they're unbeatable. To go 2-1 down, you know, after winning 1-0, to be going 2-1 down against Bournemouth, you think they were dead and buried. But to come away with 3 points at Bournemouth, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm going to stick my neck on the block here. I think the bubble will burst. But it's a massive amount of points to be making up this time of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Dave said earlier, we've got 3 big games against Barnsley, Bournemouth, and Watford. Yeah, if we could come away with 9 points in them 3 games, anything's possible.
Yeah.
And if Barnsley can do it, why can't we? Because, like you say, this is the most unpredictable league any club's ever going to play in. You know what I mean? So, you're looking at the comments here, and fans are still thinking about the playoffs, James. So you've just got to go with it. If it's if the points are there, you've still got to believe that we could make them. But like I said earlier, I think we'll just hit the post and fall a bit short. Yeah. And the worst position you can finish in, like Dave said a couple of seasons ago, is finishing 7th. I'd rather finish one place above relegation than finish 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack, we're talking here, we're 8 points behind with 10 games to go. Are you in the camp of you go for it, there's nothing to lose? Or do you think, you know what, we've had a really good season. What will be, but really we're going to be going for it next season. That's going to be where we're going to have a real concerted push for promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to look at it from either side. I think we've had a decent season. Well, couldn't have been any worse than last season. Absolute car crash. But I think we just need to pay attention, keep vigilant, and just keep calm when we're on the ball and keep getting points. Just points even there. We need to be getting 3 points as opposed to just getting a draw or 1 point. We just need to be picking points up literally everywhere we can. I'm trying to be realistic as well as optimistic at the same time, but it's one of them things. As long as we're winning games, I don't like to rely on other teams, but at this business end of the season, sometimes we have to keep a close eye on other teams.
Yeah, no, good shout, mate. So Millwall it is on Saturday, last game before the international break. David, I'll come to you first. What's the score going to be down at the New Den?
I think we'll nick it 1-0. Like I said, I can't see it being a great spectacle for the fans to endure, but yeah, I think we're going to push it for that week after the international, and I think that's going to make a break. So 1-0, I'm going to go.
And that'd be great, wouldn't it, Tony? Because it'll keep the interest alive in the season for another couple of weeks. But Can you see us getting a double header of 2 victories this week? And you see us beating Preston and beating Millwall?
Oh, yeah. 2-1. 2-1.
Go on, Jack. We might as well all look daft. You can predict us for a win and all, yeah?
Yeah, same with Guesty. 2-1 Boro. I think it'll be a game. But as long as we've got the 3 points.
Oh, fantastic, lads. I love the optimism. Love the Boro fans' faith. Tony, someone was asking earlier on why we hadn't wished Sunderland all the best on their major trophy success yesterday. What was your thoughts on them winning the Sandwich Bar trophy?
Yeah, but that was he's a massive Sunderland fan. He was a work colleague for over 20-odd years. You know, I don't think he's ever missed a Sunderland game. Cracker, John Ruddock. Well, when you look back, James, there's no North East team won at Wembley, I think, since Sunderland last won there. So it's a massive. It's not their fault what the trophy's sponsored by, James. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. So I dare say they were all enjoying the kebab specials and cheesy chips last night. But it's for North East football, it's good. No matter what league you're in, a win's a win. A win at Wembley is absolutely fantastic for the fans, and. Like you say, I know that I'm not going to say this. I'll get kicked off for swearing, but you know, you like to see, even if they support Sunderland, you want to see the fans happy, and they're happy that they've won a trophy. So, you know, it keeps them believing, doesn't it? It keeps them believing that they're a big club with a big stadium that no one wants to go to.
I'm pleased for Van Ledbetter mind.
Yeah. But they're like. You know, a couple of seasons ago, how many times was that stadium empty at half time? You know what I mean? So they've been through a few rough times. So fair play to them. You know,
talking to stadiums, I was over the moon. Sorry, Tony.
I was going to say I was over the moon when they beat Leeds in the '73 Cup final, but it's a long time ago.
Talking to stadiums, David, we were talking before we came on air tonight about fans at Euro 2020, 2021 it'll be, and what that's going to be like in next season. And Steve Davis has got in touch with us again, said he can't wait personally to get back to the Riverside next season and hear if it's 30,000, 20, 25,000 Boro fans cheering on the team. And I think we all feel like that. We're all itching to get back to the grounds and watching the games again, aren't we, David?
Yeah, it's been a tough year and a half of watching football, and I think it's put into perspective of how much fans make the sport. You know, I think even from the players' point of view, the game's gone mad without it. So the match day experience is going to be a strange one. We're allowed back in the ground. But then we make the game of football. It'd be interesting to see, like you touched upon before we came on air, regarding the away fans, though. Whether away fans are allowed in the ground next season.
Yeah. And I mean, Jack, you're like me. I know I've seen you often at non-league games. You like your grassroots football, and I've seen you following Billingham Town around the northeast. Even at the levels that the non-league lads are playing at, again, the crowd makes such a difference, and people are itching to watch them as well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of them things. Everyone's itching to be back. We're all in. We can't wait to be back. And I'm sure we'll start living that experience again that we've all missed so much.
Yeah, brilliant, great.
You see the cricket. Been watching the cricket over in India. 70,000 people in a 110,000 seater stadium.
Yeah,
which absolutely looks magnificent. You know, there can't be the one thing all those fans have got in common now is we just all want to be back at the games. We all just want to be back in our seats, watching a game of football, no matter what division or what standard it is. And it's been too long now, James. You know, and hopefully, touch wood, things are back to normal by August, and we can all get back together and, you know, enjoy the proper match day experience.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to, just goes through the roof as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to reply to this, Jack. Kev Short's been in touch and he said, up the Thornaby. I know there's a bit of rivalry between Thornaby and Billytown. He said Billytown ought to be buzzing that the league got cancelled.
Well, I mean, we weren't in the best of forms that we've had in the past couple of seasons. But I mean, yeah, the quicker we get the fans back in, hopefully that reflects on the team's performance and we can start working back up the league again.
Brilliant. Great thing to end the show on that, Jack. Brilliant. Unfortunately, everyone, we're out of time this week for the show. Many thanks to Tony, David and Jack for joining me. And thank you to everybody out there for all your contributions to the show and playing your part as always. Don't forget to join us next week when we look back on the Preston and the Millwall games. We're also going to review the championship season as it stands before it enters the final stretch. Until then, from me, James Hutchinson, have a good week, take care of yourselves, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.